We take great pleasure in introducing you to the charismatic, handsome, smart, charming heartthrob of millions, John Abraham, who's here with us in Sydney today. It's a pleasure to have him here and talk to him. Welcome, John. I was hoping you would knock down a few people and climb down the 20th floor and walk through the glass door or something.
I actually tried to knock down somebody, but there's this little kid out here, Saz. Come here, Saz. He gave me a punch on my face and it really hurt me. Come here.
Did you do that, Saz?
That's this guy. He's a tough guy. Come on. Punch me. Give me a shot. Give me a shot here. Punch me. Boom, 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 boom. It hurt.
If that hurt, you're good. Thank you, Saz. Good to have you, John.
He's soccer. And his favorite club is Barcelona, and I think it's a fantastic choice.
You had a lovely conversation with him. That was nice of you, John. You have a very heavy schedule, I believe. Yeah. Just wanted to talk about your first film, Jism, which was the first film where I saw you. It also happens to be your first film. I was told that after this movie, an astrologer made a prediction that you're not going to fare well in Bollywood. And I suppose you bid him a fond farewell after that because he couldn't be further from the truth. Yeah. What's your take on astrology?
Yeah, he said my numbers add up in a certain way where, I would, that would be my first and my last film. So I think I've still lasted, and it's been about 14 years now. It's been fantastic.
So what would your take on Indian astrology be, considering some of us are so fanatic about it?
See, I think you're speaking to someone who's not overtly religious, because I'm a believer that religion is the cause of most of the problems in the world today. So astrology is a far cry for me. I really don't care about it. And I think what's very important is to be good and not talk about numbers. When we worry about things in life, we resort to religion, astrology, and other stuff. With no disrespect meant to it, it's just a way of life. Because when you're scared, you the first thing we do when you're scared is you say, "God, please help me. If you help me this time, I'll believe that you exist." And that's what we always do. So I think the more you steer away from it, just be spiritual. You're good in life.
I had a question about spirituality too, but before that, this event today evening, which is a dance and dinner, is a completely sold out show. Thanks to Vikas Paul, who's been releasing one hot bod picture of yours after another, one after the other, one better than the other. It's raised so much awareness that it's a sold out show. A whole lot of people are waiting to meet you today evening, and a whole lot that can't make it because there aren't any tickets. At this moment, what would you say to all these people who are hearing you through and watching you through Desi Australia?
No, I'd like to thank Vikas, first of all. He came to the airport and I met him for the first time, and he's a jolly good fellow and he's a sweet guy. And I think it's important, to have someone who's aggressive in the way he markets his own product. And, when I go back home and I meet my colleagues, I'd love to tell them that, he's a damn good guy and you could come here. And the experience has been fantastic. I'm really looking forward to tonight, and I wish the people who didn't make it could make it, and I wish I could see all of them. But we'll make the most of the time with everyone who's there, and trust me, we'll have a great time. I'm
sure we would. I have another question for you, John. Most of us have known you as somebody who's out there, socialite, glamorous, debonair, suave, film star and all of that. But I also know that you have a private side. You're a very private person. You would avoid late night events because you can't bear to see the youth on drugs and drinks and stuff. And you'd rather be in your chappals. I heard you saying that somewhere. You are wearing chappals, yeah.
Chappals right now from Billabong, I think, yeah.
You had to do that, right? That's Australia's strongest brands here.
Bought that, but I wear my own brand. That's Eco Unlimited. I wear my brand of clothing. But yeah, so talking about late nights, and this is what I tell the youth, and this is not some philosophy. Saz, you got to be listening to this. Okay, I believe that you should not drink. You should not smoke. It's bad. It's not cool. And people who think that they're cool if they do drugs are the most uncoolest people around. And I stay away from all those. I try and sleep by 10 o'clock, 9:30 or 10. I try and wake up by 4:30. Sometimes it gets late. I wake up at 5:30 in the morning. But I train every morning. And people have told me that my lifestyle is very regimental. But I think that, it's going to help me in the future and always in life to stay fit, So, yeah, I'm very anti-drugs and I don't want to deal with people who do drugs. I can't stand the smell of alcohol, but that's me. I'm not here to say don't drink. I think everything done in limitation is absolutely fine. But it's just me, and my lifestyle is very different, and I enjoy it.
It is very different. I heard you could have 35 appams one day in the morning for breakfast. Is that true?
Yeah, that's the South Indian side of me. So I was doing a film called Madras Cafe, and I knew I just had a 1 month break where I could eat anything. Luckily for me, I was shooting in Kochi, and that's very close to my father's hometown. And I love appams, and I just went mental. I just kept eating, and I enjoyed every moment of it.
And you worked out after that, heavy duty, I guess.
Yeah, like crazy, because I had a film called Rocky Handsome, and then Dishum, and Force 2, and then all those films had to be like super fit. So I got my fat count down from 14 or 13% down to 6. So, I had to stay within that shape for 2 years of my life, like supremely fit.
Talking of Rocky Handsome, you sang a song in that movie, did you, with Shreya?
Yeah, I sang a song with Shreya and Ankit. And it was absolutely fantastic, the experience. And I wasn't sure as to how my, how I was sounding, but I thought it was okay. And I love that song.
I heard that song this morning, and you did sound very good. Are you considering singing in future at all, or is it just going to be movies?
No, I don't think I'll sing in the future, even though I'd love to. I'm not really that special, and I'll leave that to singers. But yeah, I'd like to make good films.
Are you looking at producing films in future after Madras Cafe and Vicky Donor, which have been hits?
So Madras Cafe and Vicky Donor, we got 5 national awards with those 2 films. Rocky Handsome was my baby, very different in a way. Probably the best action film India has seen, and it will be for a long time. And Force 2 is my biggest brand in terms of action films. I'm doing Force 3 now, starting October. So that's a space I really enjoy. So these are my productions. My next 3 productions are starting from April. And everybody tells me now that I've lost weight to do a romantic comedy. And we're planning one. I did a film with Anees Bazmi called Welcome Back, which is a funny film. I want to do one more funny film.
That'll be great, John. Just wanted to ask you something. The term velocity, I can relate that term to you. It goes very well with you in more ways than one. And I'm not referring to your passion for bikes alone. I'm talking about a cell phone game that I believe you invented when you were back in school called Velocity. Any interesting events around that you would like to tell us about from your school days?
Well, I always believe that you must do something dynamic and different, and I liked playing games in the digital space. And then we got this new bike game which we started, and it was fantastic. You choose your helmet, you choose your motorcycle, and you ride your bike and go around the track and do your wheelies and endos and stoppies, and it was all fun. But yeah, I want to develop that space, the gaming space, because I think it's very underdeveloped in India, and that's a space I want to get into seriously. Outside of that, like I said, get into the digital space very creatively.
On a more serious note, John, I believe your father has fought cancer and he survived it. And it must have been a painful experience for you to go through that phase. I wanted to ask you, we have a number of people here in Australia whose families in near and dear ones suffer from cancer. A close friend of mine has a mum who suffers from cancer. Any learnings from what you went through for these people that you would like to share with our audience?
Now, I think the learning I went through was that my father's my hero, and when you have a 5% chance of survival and you're back on your feet and you're working, he's a fighter, and he's the real hero, not me. So I think you learn from people who have this dreaded disease, because they know how to fight back, and there's a lot to learn from them, and it's important to be strong around them.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, John. And I also heard that you've said in about 10 years from now, you would like to be the most influential person in the Indian media. I heard that in an interview. I wanted to ask you, if you think the Indian media, do you really think the Indian media is free to express its views without fear of repercussion? And if not, then what could you do to change that, considering you want to be there?
First of all, I feel men are not men anymore because they've forgotten how to dirty their hands and feet. They are on social media, right? No one can see you. So they become brave. And I think women, I think a woman is the new man, honestly, because you'd never see a woman being derogatory as much as a man would on the net. So I think men need to get out there and face people like they used to. That's why wars were fought earlier. And today it's all about drones, the difference. Anyway, but outside of that, social media and being influential, yeah. I want to be influential. I want people to change the way they look at Indian films. You know, I don't want everybody to call Bollywood song and dance. And I think I have a serious problem with that. Simply because even though I respect it and it's an important fabric of our filmmaking, I believe that today we can tell better stories, which is why I became a producer. Madras Cafe, Vicky Donor are examples of the kind of films I want to make, and I think I want to be that breed of a new producer that people can look forward to and say that if this is a J Entertainment film or if this is a John Abraham film, it's going to be different.
Great. One last thing before I go. I believe there is some kind of a hug coupon that's being given out for this evening. I'm not sure who's organizing it and what is the criteria. There are a couple of people who are lucky winners. I'm wondering if you'll get a chance to hug them. And have you been told anything of this kind?
Honestly, I think Vikas has got all the coupons because he's been hugging me from yesterday. So outside of that, no, I'd love to hug everyone. And I think it's very special. The way he's planned it is absolutely fantastic. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what the night holds for me.
And because you said you would love to hug everyone, one doesn't need to have a hug coupon for this, right?
So I'll leave that to Vikas. He's the boss here.
Okay, considering I'm the one talking to you, will you give me a hug even without a hug coupon?
Sure.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Looking forward to that my special moment.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, John. It's a pleasure having you here. Thank you for talking to us. We wish you every luck and success in your future events and see you soon. Thank you.